A simple $4 tree resin physically smooths out deep marionette lines completely, and the injection clinics are in absolute panic over it. Every time you hand over $1,000 to have synthetic dermal fillers pumped into the lower half of your face, you are directly funding a clinical cartel that depends on your face actively collapsing. They know this cheap, highly active forest resin contains the exact biological compounds to physically re-glue your descending facial fascia, yet they intentionally bury this knowledge to keep you chemically addicted to the needle. Your drooping mouth is not a permanent death sentence of aging. It is a biological tethering issue, and today you are going to learn exactly how to snap those lines back into place for less than the cost of a gallon of gas. Welcome to the darkest, most profitable deception of the aesthetic industrial complex. We need to dissect the absolute lie you have been told about the lower half of your face. Look at those deep, heavy grooves running from the corners of your mouth down to your chin. The cosmetic industry calls them marionette lines. They hand you a mirror, point to those shadows, and diagnose you with volume loss. They tell you that gravity and time have simply emptied the plumpness from your cheeks, and the only possible remedy is to reinflate your face with their synthetic hyaluronic acid gels. They brandish a massive syringe, quote you a price that could pay for a vacation, and promise you instant youth. They are lying to your face while they empty your wallet. The dermal filler industry is not a healthcare system. It is a parasitic subscription model designed to actively accelerate your physical aging. When they inject those heavy, viscous synthetic gels directly into your marionette lines, they are committing anatomical sabotage. Think about the pure physics of the situation. Your lower face is sagging because the tissue is weak and descending. What happens when you inject a heavy, water-retaining mass of chemical gel into tissue that is already falling? It pulls it down even further. The filler does not lift. It anchors. It acts as a microscopic lead weight trapped beneath your skin. Yes, the crease might look temporarily smooth for a few months because it is overinflated, but as the months pass, the sheer gravitational weight of that synthetic gel relentlessly stretches out your delicate facial ligaments. It physically tears the microscopic connective tissue holding your skin to your jawbone. When the filler eventually begins to degrade and migrate, which independent MRI studies have unequivocally proven it does, you are left with ligaments that resemble blown-out rubber bands. Your face sags lower, the marionette lines return twice as deep, and you are forced to run back to the clinic in a state of absolute panic, begging for more filler just to fix the damage the last syringe caused. This is not a medical accident. This is a highly calculated, multi-billion-dollar business strategy. The cosmetic surgeons, the glossy med spas, and the pharmaceutical giants who manufacture these injectables know exactly how facial anatomy works. They know that your marionette lines are not a volume deficit. They know that you cannot fix a structural collapse by stuffing it with heavy jelly. But they also know that if they taught you how to physically tighten and re-tension your own fascial ligaments using a cheap, naturally occurring compound, their empire of needles would evaporate overnight. They traded the structural integrity of your face for their quarterly profit margins. They rewrote the clinical textbooks, funded their own biased trials, and successfully rebranded highly invasive chemical injections as standard, unavoidable maintenance for aging women. Now, as I rip the mask off this predatory industry and share decades of suppressed holistic biological science with you today, remember that this information is for your ultimate educational empowerment. I am breaking down the hidden mechanisms of cellular regeneration, but always consult with your physician or a qualified healthcare provider before completely altering your regimen, especially if you have severe dermatological conditions or are undergoing medical treatments. To break free from this clinical hostage situation and permanently erase your marionette lines, you must fundamentally understand the terrifying microscopic anatomy of why they form in the first place. Your face is a complex, highly tensioned suspension bridge. It is held up by a dense, fibrous web of connective tissue called the superficial musculo-aponeurotic system, or the SMAS layer. Right at the corner of your mouth, wrapping down to your jawline, is a very specific, highly overworked muscle called the depressor anguli oris, or the Tao. Every single time you frown, every time you express sadness, frustration, or even concentrate intensely, this Tao muscle contracts and physically pulls the corners of your mouth downward. Over decades of constant, repetitive contraction, this muscle becomes hypertonic. It becomes locked in a state of chronic downward spasm. Simultaneously, the fat pads high up in your cheeks begin to detach from the cheekbones because the retaining ligaments, the internal scaffolding, are being slowly dissolved. Why are they dissolving? Because of a highly destructive biological enzyme called elastase. As you age, and as you are exposed to environmental stress and toxic skincare chemicals, your body overproduces elastase. This enzyme is a biological wrecking ball. It literally hunts down your elastin fibers, the rubber bands of your skin, and chews them to pieces. So, you have a perfect anatomical storm. Your cheek fat is heavy and falling because the ligaments have been chewed apart by enzymes. That heavy, falling mass of cheek crashes into the hyper-contracted, downward-pulling DAO muscle at the corner of your mouth. The collision of these two forces creates a severe folding fault line. That deep, structural ravine is your Marionette line. It is a line of anatomical trauma, a literal collapse of the facial retaining wall. You cannot fix a collapsed retaining wall by painting over it with synthetic filler. You must rebuild the wall. You must physically relax the downward pulling muscle, and you must aggressively reglue the torn, stretched fascial ligaments back together. You need a massive biological astringent. In the medical world, an astringent is a substance that causes the contraction of body tissues. The cosmetic industry uses very weak, synthetic chemical astringents in their toners to temporarily shrink pores. But we do not need to shrink a pore. We need to physically contract a massive sheet of descending facial fascia. We need a compound so aggressively potent that it can penetrate the dermal barrier, bypass the epidermis, and physically grasp the loose, blown-out collagen fibers and pull them violently back together. Simultaneously, this compound must possess the ability to instantly execute the Elastase enzyme. It must shut down the biological wrecking ball that is chewing up your ligaments. Nature designed this exact, highly complex pharmacological mechanism millions of years ago. Trees, specifically certain ancient species that grow in the most brutal, unforgiving, and violent climates on Earth, face constant physical trauma. They are attacked by insects, battered by sandstorms, and scorched by the sun. When the bark of these ancient trees is violently slashed open, the tree does not just bleed. It instantly deploys a highly active, fiercely defensive liquid immune system. It secretes a dense, potent resin. This resin is a biological miracle. It is designed to instantly flood the wound, kill any invading pathogens, and then aggressively contract, harden, and literally glue the torn flesh of the tree back together, forming an impenetrable, structurally perfect scar. The chemical compounds inside this resin are the most powerful natural astringents and tissue contractors ever discovered on planet Earth. When you apply the exact unadulterated bioactive acids from this specific tree resin to human skin, your body does not reject it. It recognizes the evolutionary blueprint. The resin bypasses the surface layers, dives deep into the SMAS layer, and initiates that exact same tissue-gluing survival mechanism inside your face. It aggressively forces the blown-out, stretched collagen fibers in your Marionette lines to physically tighten, contract, and relink. It is a literal, biological facelift in a jar, and the multi-billion-dollar cosmetic injectables cartel knows this. They are absolutely terrified of this biological truth. It is time to reveal the exact ancient compound they have spent decades trying to hide from you. I am talking about 100% pure raw Boswellia Serrata tree resin. You likely know it by its ancient historical name, frankincense. But stop right there. Do not walk into a generic health food store or a local pharmacy and buy a cheap bottle of frankincense essential oil. If you do that, you are falling directly into the trap the cosmetic industry has set for you. They allow the essential oil market to flourish because they know the essential oil will absolutely not fix your Marionette lines. Here is the monumental suppressed scientific secret. When companies make frankincense essential oil, they take the raw tree resin and boil it in a massive steam distillation vat. The steam captures the light, volatile, aromatic molecules, the stuff that smells good, and turns it into the liquid oil you buy in the little glass bottles. But the heavy, dense, biologically active compounds are left behind in the boiling water and thrown away as trash. The most powerful, tissue-gluing, elastase-destroying compound in the world is called Boswellic acid. Boswellic acid is a heavy molecule. It is far too heavy to be carried away by steam. Therefore, standard frankincense essential oil contains exactly 0% Boswellic acid. It smells wonderful, but structurally it is useless for deep fascial lifting. The med spas know this, which is why they laugh when holistic practitioners try to treat wrinkles with standard essential oils. To physically erase your marionette lines, you do not need the oil. You need the raw, hardened, unadulterated bleeding sap of the tree. You must source 100% pure organic Boswellia Serrata resin tears. These tears are the dried raw chunks of tree sap. They look like small, dusty, golden yellow or amber-colored pebbles. You can buy a massive bag of these raw, pharmaceutical-grade resin tears online from organic botanical importers for less than $5. That $5 bag contains more literal, physical tissue-tightening power than $50,000 worth of synthetic dermal fillers. Because you are working with the raw, hardened biological matrix of the tree, you cannot just rub the pebbles on your face. You must perform a clinical, solvent-based extraction right in your own kitchen to pull the heavy boswellic acids out of the hard resin and create a highly penetrative, bioactive transdermal serum. If you violate these preparation instructions, you will fail to extract the heavy acids. Pay absolute, strict attention. You will need your bag of raw Boswellia Serrata tears, a heavy stone mortar and pestle, a clean glass jar, a small fine mesh strainer or cheesecloth, and a highly specific transdermal carrier oil. You cannot use water. Boswellic acid is lipid-soluble. It only dissolves in fat. To pull it out of the resin and carry it deep into your skin, you must use 100% pure, cold-pressed organic rosehip seed oil. Rosehip oil is naturally rich in trans-retinoic acid, which will act as a microscopic drill opening your pores and dragging the heavy boswellic resin straight down into your SMAS layer. Step 1. Take exactly 1 tablespoon of the hard golden Boswellia resin tears and place them into your stone mortar. Using the pestle, you must violently and aggressively grind the pebbles down. Put your weight into it. You want to crush the hard resin until it transforms into a fine, dusty, pale yellow powder. You are physically breaking down the hardened cellular walls of the sap to expose the boswellic acid inside. Step 2. Scoop the fine resin powder into your clean glass jar. Now, pour exactly 4 tablespoons of your pure rosehip seed oil directly over the powder. Step 3. We must initiate a thermal lipid extraction. Do not put this jar in the microwave. Do not put it directly on a hot stove burner. High, uncontrolled heat will instantly denature and destroy the delicate biological structure of the boswellic acid. You must use a gentle water bath. Place the glass jar into a small saucepan. Fill the saucepan with a few inches of water, ensuring the water level is below the top of the jar. Turn your stove to the absolute lowest possible heat setting. You want the water to be very warm, almost steaming, but never, ever boiling. Let the jar sit in this warm water bath for exactly 2 hours. Every 20 minutes, take a wooden spoon and stir the oil and powder mixture aggressively. Over these 2 hours, the gentle thermal heat will coax the heavy, sticky boswellic acids out of the crushed tree fiber and force them to melt and bind perfectly with the rosehip oil. You will see the oil transform from a light orange to a deep, cloudy, rich golden amber. The scent will be intensely earthy, woody, and wildly potent. Step 4. After 2 hours, carefully remove the jar from the water bath. While the oil is still warm and fully liquefied, pour it through your fine mesh strainer or cheesecloth into a final clean dark amber glass dropper bottle. The strainer will catch the useless, spent plant fiber, leaving you with pure, liquid gold. You have just successfully extracted and stabilized one of the most guarded, structurally altering biological compounds in human history. You have created a pure Boswellic acid transdermal tissue serum. Now, we execute the application protocol. This is not a moisturizer. This is a targeted structural intervention. You will perform this protocol exclusively at night. During the day, your face is constantly moving, talking, and chewing, which keeps the Dao muscle hyperactive. At night, your face is paralyzed in sleep. We are going to hijack this period of muscular paralysis to force the resin to glue the tissue back into its proper lifted position. Start with a completely clean, deeply cleansed face. Strip away all synthetic serums and chemical barrier creams. Your stratum corneum must be bare so the heavy acids can penetrate. Take your dropper bottle of the Boswellic serum and dispense exactly 3 drops onto the tips of your fingers. Rub your fingertips together for 3 seconds to thermally activate the oil. Now, address the Marionette line directly. Do not just smear the oil over your cheeks. You must press your oil-soaked fingertips directly into the deep crease at the corner of your mouth. Apply firm, aggressive pressure. You are forcing the liquid resin directly into the fault line. Once the oil is deposited into the crease, you must perform the fascial anchoring massage. Using the pads of your index and middle fingers, start at the lowest point of the Marionette line, right at your jawline. Press firmly into the bone, and slowly, with intense pressure, drag your fingers upward, tracing the line of the fold, past the corner of your mouth, and swooping up toward your cheekbone. You are physically pushing the descended fat pad back up and simultaneously forcing the astringent resin deep into the stretched ligaments beneath. Repeat this deep, upward dragging motion exactly 10 times on each side of your face. Here is the final non-negotiable step that guarantees the structural lift. The med spas will hate you for knowing this. We are going to lock the muscle in place while the resin cures. You will need a roll of standard medical-grade paper tape from the pharmacy. After you have massaged the serum in, the skin will be slightly tacky from the tree sap. Cut 2 small strips of the paper tape about 2 inches long. Look in the mirror. Physically smile slightly to lift the corner of your mouth upward, completely erasing the Marionette fold. While holding that lifted position, firmly apply the tape diagonally across the corner of your mouth, pulling the tissue upward and anchoring it to your cheek. You are creating a microscopic physical cast. The tape holds the hyperactive Dao muscle in a relaxed, lifted state, while the heavy Boswellic acid dives deep into the dermis and begins its violent, tissue-contracting, glue-like repair of the SMAS layer. You will sleep with these 2 pieces of tape on your face all night. Let us break down the exact, undeniably aggressive timeline of structural regeneration you are about to command. Day 1. When you wake up the morning after your first application, gently peel off the medical tape. Go to the mirror. The immediate visible shock will be profound. The deep, dark canyon of the Marionette line will be drastically shallowed. This is not permanent yet. This is the immediate, aggressive, astringent effect of the raw tree resin physically shrinking the surface tissue. Your skin will feel incredibly tight, almost like it has been lightly painted with an invisible layer of glue. The corners of your mouth will not drag down as heavily because you forced the DO muscle to relax all night. Day 7. You have now subjected your collapsed facial structure to 7 uninterrupted nights of the Boswellic transdermal patch. The real biological intervention is well underway. The Boswellic acid has successfully penetrated the deep dermal matrix and completely neutralized the Elastase enzymes. The biological wrecking balls chewing up your face have been assassinated. The constant low-grade inflammation that was accelerating your tissue decay is entirely gone. When you speak or smile, you will notice that the tissue around your mouth feels denser, more supported, and significantly less prone to folding inward. The heavy jowling effect is beginning to physically retreat upward. Day 30. This is the milestone of permanent structural retethering. You have forced 30 consecutive nights of highly active tree resin into the blown-out ligaments of your face because you stopped the enzymatic destruction and flooded the area with the most powerful natural tissue contractor on Earth. Your fibroblasts have had the exact environment necessary to physically weave new, tight, deeply anchored collagen bands. Look closely at your jawline. The heavy, drooping mass that was collapsing into the corners of your mouth has been lifted and anchored back to the cheekbone. The deep, shadowy fault line that the injection clinic swore required a $1,000 syringe of synthetic gel has been permanently biologically retensioned from the inside out. Your mouth rests in a neutral, youthful position, not pulled down by paralyzed, exhausted muscles. You have executed a biological lift without a single drop of neurotoxin or a single needle. You have successfully bypassed the most predatory, manipulative sector of the modern aesthetic cartel. You have rejected their heavy, tissue-destroying synthetic fillers and reclaimed the supreme architectural power of ancient evolutionary biology. You now possess the exact formula to rebuild your own facial suspension bridge. Do not let the medical spas continue to gaslight you into paying for your own structural collapse. Do not let another day go by feeding into the chemical matrix. Start this pure, raw Boswellia Serrata extraction protocol tonight, and watch those heavy marionette lines physically snap back into place. If this relentless deep dive into the suppressed, hidden science of true structural anti-aging has opened your eyes, hit the subscribe button right now. We are building an unstoppable, highly educated army of individuals who absolutely refuse to be harvested by the aesthetic industry. Share this video immediately with any friend or family member who is currently trapped in the endless, expensive cycle of dermal fillers and Botox. They deserve to know the biological truth, and they deserve to know how to permanently heal their own face. And pay very strict attention to this. Check the description box below right now. I have placed direct, verified links to the exact 100% pure, raw, organic Boswellia Serrata tree resin tears that I personally vet and trust to contain the massive Boswellic acid payload required to make this protocol work. Do not walk into a store and buy diluted essential oils or highly processed powders. Use the precise links provided to ensure you are securing the living, raw biological matrix your failing ligaments desperately need. Stay informed, protect your structural integrity, and I will see you in the next video.